Hey everybody, welcome back to the Print 3D channel. Today is July 10th, and that means day 191 of the 3DP 365 project. And on today's episode, we printed out this 18mm tabletop gaming figure, so stick around. Hey everybody, welcome back, and thank you for joining me here for day 191 of the 3DP 365 project. As always, down in the description there's a fact section. There's also the MatterHackers affiliate link. If you're in the market for some new filament, just use that MatterHackers affiliate link and you really help out the channel. On today's episode, we tried to print this little 18mm Dwarfclan Hold Guardian from the DutchMogul, and our print actually turned out pretty good. I am actually super impressed with this. This is a tiny model. It's 18mm tall. And basically I just downloaded it, dragged it over to Simplify 3D, and just used whatever basic settings I had there. But I did multiple processes. What I basically did, and it's so hard to see this thing, what I basically did for the base is I did a 0.16mm layer height for just the base, and then I dropped the gMax down to a 0.08mm layer height, which I believe is the finest you can go with a 0.5mm nozzle on the gMax 1.5 XT Plus. And I also slowed this down to, I believe, 20 or 25 millimeters per second, super slow. And it printed, and it's pretty tiny. I mean, you can barely see it. And I have some macro photos, which I'll bring up right now, and you can see how small this is. I put it next to a penny. But it's actually supposed to look like this guy right here. And this is what we printed after we printed the little tiny 18mm. And this is a 72mm Dwarfclan Hold Guardian remix. This is a remix from one of the many people who have remixed some of the DutchMogul's work. And if you know anything about tabletop gaming, you know that the DutchMogul is the king of creating models up on Thingiverse for tabletop gaming. His work is stellar. There is a ton of stuff out there to choose from. And if you're into tabletop gaming, there's a lot of stuff to choose from as far as what kind of stuff. There's spaceships, there's medieval style, there's all kinds of different cool stuff that he's done. And I'll put his information down in the description. And basically I wanted to print out one of the small tabletop gaming figures. They're between 18mm and I believe 22mm tall. And like I said, I just basically loaded it up and printed it, and it turned out okay. I mean, there's a ton of stringing. Once the stringing was done and it got towards his head, that actually printed out perfectly, and you can see those in those macro photos I showed you. But I wanted to see what it looked like, and I wanted to print one of these little guys. So I went browsing through the remixes, and I came across this 72mm tall one without the base that someone had apparently fixed. I don't know what the problems were with the model, but they were fixed. And they made it a little bit easier to print without support. But I did add some support material because I noticed his little beard tip was a bit of an air print. So there's a little bit of scarring there on the end of his beard. But the rest of the print turned out awesome. And like I said, we downloaded this from Thingiverse, and then we sent it over to Simplify 3D for slicing. In Simplify 3D, we used a 0.16mm layer height on this little guy. We used 3 top layers, 3 bottom layers, and 3 perimeters. We only used 10% infill on this model, and we ran him out at 40 millimeters per second. And it took about 5 hours to print. It wasn't too bad of a print, but the detail is amazing on this model. I mean, this is a very cool remix of the DutchMogul's figure. So basically it's the DutchMogul's figure sculpt. It's just been run through some sort of net fab or some sort of mesh repair, and then obviously the bottom of the base was cut off. But everything else from the original file that the DutchMogul did is here. And this is a very cool model. I think these are super detailed. And the print itself, it came out awesome. There are no blobs, there are no globs, there are no layer skips, there are no layer shifts. This is a very clean print. And we use some of that MatterHackers PRO PLA in the color of lime green on our gMax 1.5 XT Plus. And I am super impressed with this. I mean, the chainmail on his body is just perfect. I mean, it looks so awesome. His little shield is perfectly clean. It's a very nice print. I mean, this turned out awesome. And you really should check out if you're into tabletop gaming, or if you didn't know that tabletop gaming had moved over into 3D printing. Because I'm sure if you wandered around one of your local independent hobby stores, you'll still see those little lead figures that they create, and they paint those too. But now it looks like 3D printing has taken over that, or hopefully it has, because this is a very cool little niche part of 3D printing. And I really do love tabletop gaming. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons when I was a little kid. But it looks like this type of stuff has actually moved over to the 3D printing world. And if you're interested in this kind of stuff, definitely check out the DutchMogul's page over on Thingiverse. He has a ton of stuff there to print. And a lot of them are real challenging prints because, like, oh, where did he go? I almost lost him. Like this little guy here, they're all about 18 millimeters tall. So they're really challenging prints. So I'm definitely gonna keep trying to print this and watch up on Instagram to see how well we get this, because I have a lot of settings to change. Like I said, I just used basic settings. I didn't do anything special for this. I just loaded it up and printed it. And I really wanted to see how good it turns out, because I have a project I'm gonna be working on with another YouTube creator where we're gonna create our own little figures. And I wanted to do a test print just to see how good a really small figure would print out on my giant gMax printer. And it did a pretty good job. I'm pretty impressed. So definitely going to dial in the settings, and like I said, watch on Instagram for the results of me trying to improve an 18 millimeter tall tabletop gaming figure. But for now, I'm happy with our little lime green version of the print, and I'm definitely going to explore this tabletop gaming thing because I think it's pretty cool. Well, that about wraps it up for day 191 of the 3DP 365 project. I hope you guys found this episode interesting and informative. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share those videos, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.